Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Yes, indeed. It's my pleasure to welcome you all here at the Building and Cool Pavilion. So we can have this section that starts right now. We're going to have 1 hour and a half to be presented with the theme Unlocking Subnational Finance for Green Sectoral Transformation, a focus on building and cooling. The idea is that we're going to have an opening remark, and then later on 2 panels that we're going to comprise different reference and perspectives towards regional and local engagement into this theme. My name is Rodrigo Corradi. I am Deputy Executive Secretary for ICLE in South America. It's going to be my pleasure to be your moderator in this session right now. So, to make this welcome and opening remarks, I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Hampang Lei, Chief of Mitigation Branch of the Climate Change Division of UNEP.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on behalf of UNEP and many of our partners who are coordinating this event. Welcome to the session. So I would just want to say a few words in the beginning. So as we know, cities are key to delivering climate SDG transitions, while cities face major financing barriers. So global climate architecture not yet fit our purpose. Factoring in climate resilience, finance gap for urban infrastructure rises to 5.7 trillion US dollar. Local and regional governments responsible for over 70% of climate solutions received only a fraction of this funding. So magnified by capacity gaps in generating local revenues and accessing both national and international funds. So UNEP's experience showcase how vertical funds like GEF, GCF, etc., and the cross-sectoral approaches can address these funding and capacity challenges. So working with Jeff on projects which pair capacity building across sectors from retrofitting to supporting urban farming with tailored financing greater success. For example, in South Africa, Jeff Fund of $8 million unlocked over $120 million and improved social housing, food resilience, and waste management, and more. UNEP led the Urban Shift program, supported by Jeff 7, and implemented jointly with WI, ICLE, and C40, and the World Bank, engaged more than 23 cities in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So provided support to hundreds of urban practitioners through training courses, finance academics, investor roundtables, and one-to-one technical assistance on how to develop bankable products and increase their own revenues with mechanisms like land value capture. With regard to unlocking private finance, UNEP works to position local finance as a development finance through our investment in the Local 2030 Coalition, equipping cities with tools like integrated local financial frameworks and the localization marker to align budgets with SDG priorities. Still, we must go further to make finance localized, sector-specific, and inclusive. Through the Shift Cities and Regions program, a COP30 presidency supported initiative which we are currently setting up. We are looking at national reforms of financing systems to embed cities into national investment pipelines and attract private finance. Requires strengthening multi-level governance frameworks to financial local capacity, leveraging the right skill set on financing at the local level, and enhancing the quality of bankable products at the local level. So this work must be coupled with sectoral decarbonization efforts. Although the building sector is part of the fabric of cities and the gateway to climate resilience, it too is underfinanced at the local level. At COP30, UNEP and Global BC are advancing the Buildings Breakthrough, a global initiative to make near zero emission and resilient buildings the norm by 2030. This includes a global framework for action on sustainable public procurement, enabling cities to drive demand for sustainable construction and circularity through their purchasing power. Similarly, the ZERB accelerator supporting cities like Kisumu and Kali is helping subnational governments develop the decarbonization roadmaps tailored to local contexts, creating clear, investable pathways designed to stimulate private finance. Cooling solutions are critical at the local level. Since 2050, the number of urban poor exposed to dangerous heat could increase by 700%. At COP30, UNEP together with COP30 presidency has officially launched the Beat the Heat implementation drive, which will help cities to conduct urban heat island assessments, implement passive and nature-based cooling projects, promote sustainable public procurement of cooling technologies. In addition, the EPIC facility provides tailored technical assistance to cities, creating a scalable model for private finance to flow to local actors in ways that are climate smart and socially inclusive. To conclude, by reforming unfit financial infrastructure and implementing actionable sectoral roadmaps and projects, we can unlock substantial finance to achieve transformative climate actions. I want to again thank you so much for coming. I will give the floor to our moderator and our wonderful partners to talk more in depth about the work we are scaling up together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hongpang. And I believe that we have been introduced in a little bit of the perspective that we could have in terms of the global capabilities that we need to address, considering the need to understand cooling as not only one project, one element that can be done isolated by one specific community, but as a strategic pathway that demands different and complementary actions in the global scale that can address the local needs. To see a bit about these specific initiatives and perspectives from global partners, I'd like to invite to be part of this panel Madam Alessandra Findessa, Senior Advisor of the Italian Ministry of Environment, Patricia Marcos Huidobro, Coordinator for the Latin American and Caribbean region from the Global Environmental Facility, GEF, and Ish Schmidt, Head of Policy and Impact Unity at the European Investment Bank. Starting with Alessandra, please, you have your time to address the perspectives of the Italian government and this matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I'm gonna give you over here. Okay. It's gonna be better.
Okay, thank you so much. This one is better? Okay, maybe this one. Oh, this one is better. Thank you so much. Well, I think that in this COP we have to demonstrate how to adapt to the changing climate, and that cooling is indeed important. It is a need, and it is one of the many side effects of climate change. So let's go back to cities. Being an architect, for me, cities are the center of the world. So anything can be realized and implemented at the city level, which has several co-benefits, because whenever we work on cities, in cities, we work with citizens and for the citizens. I don't know how to. Maybe I have to be a little far from that. Maybe it's better. Okay. Thank you so much. So, going back to what we do, I would like to bring you some pieces of information about international activities that the Italian Ministry of Environment has been carrying out together with UNEP in the past few years. And one first example is the Digital Demand-Driven Electricity Networks initiative that Italy has launched in 2019 together with the International Energy Agency and with UNEP as the implementing partner. And despite the very difficult name, it can be translated into concrete solutions, concrete examples. As an example, during phase one of the project, we have financed many pilots in many parts of the world, but let's focus on Brazil. What we did during phase one of the Trident project, and I'm happy that here I have the chief of the mitigation branch, because we are working very well with your staff. They're amazing, and we're very happy with the work carried out so far and with the future. But here in Brazil, we financed a pilot targeted at improving the living conditions of social housing. So new social housing in Fortaleza, they were equipped with a series of instruments, smart meters, smart appliances, that allowed, once they were operating, to avoid disconnections of electricity for the most disadvantaged families. So with a small investment in technology, in digitalization, we managed to provide concrete benefits for local communities. In this case, we demonstrated that digitalization, energy efficiency is not just a matter of big buildings or archistars designing exceptional buildings, but also for the most deprived communities. And this is an example that is replicable worldwide, because with several adjustments, what we can do is to allow community to have continuity in the provision of the services, in this case of electricity. Let me mention a second example, again together with UNEP, this time with the adaptation brand. We will launch tomorrow at the Italian Pavilion a new initiative called Nature-Based Solutions Innovation Accelerator, which is targeted at demonstrating how nature-based solutions can be a very valuable alternative to grey solutions to improve the resilience of existing and potentially future infrastructure, be them, in the case of Africa, port infrastructure, so very specific, but for the second geographical scope, which is Central Asia, we target water infrastructure, transport infrastructure, energy infrastructure, because grids and energy production sites need to be resilient to climate change. Otherwise, the result is blackouts because of overheating, for instance, or self-combustions for fires. But again, also urban infrastructure. During the first missions to identify the scope of the initiative in Central Asia, we understood that, for instance, many urban infrastructure are prone to the hazards of climate change, for instance, landslides. So nature-based solutions can be a valuable alternative to gray, heavy interventions to allow parts of the cities to survive and to operate. I would like just to wrap up. A very important opportunity for cities worldwide is to connect with the implementation of NDCs. And Article 6.4, which targets the certification of the emission reduction, so mitigation. But Article 6.8 too, which is pure cooperation, so projects that have benefits also for local communities, are an incredible opportunity for cities to engage with international stakeholders and have their project financed. So please consider joining other partners in defining proposals for Article 6. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alessandra, and I believe that it's so interesting to see, and I believe that how the panel is going to be complementary to each other, because you can have here a country perspective in terms of internal and international cooperation being done throughout the perspective of a country, its outreach, and the capability that this could have in this specific matter of cooling and building. And I would like Patricia to take advantage of your perspective as the global fund that actually supported such a different arrays of actions and capabilities into environmental action globally, how Jeff is implementing and be present in this matter of cooling.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Well, my name is Patricia Marcos. I am a senior climate change specialist. I'm also the GEF is a small fund. So I'm also the regional coordinator for the Latin America regions. It's a pleasure for me to be here in Brazil. The GEF was created in 1992 after the Rio Conventions, and in addition to providing finance, we are also one of the operational entities of the financial mechanism of the UNFCCC and also of others 5 conventions more. So here we are not all just to present what we are doing, but also we are following closely the negotiations as we are receiving guidance from negotiators. The GEF serves many conventions, so again, we are not just working on climate change, we are working on biodiversity, land degradation, water, oceans, chemicals and waste. And at some point at the GEF realized that we were working in silos, so we were basically serving the UNFCCC in a way on climate change, and then serving the biodiversity convention, and even our teams, they were working in silos. We realized that, and now it seems like everybody knows that we have to work in an integrated way across all the environmental issues, but that back in, I think, 2010, this wasn't so frequent. So that was when we started thinking about creating programs that are working across different sectors. And one of the first programs that came as a key issue was cities. Like cities, they span through so many sectors that together with 2 other programs, one on forest and another one on food systems, we started working on cities. Since then, we have had 3 programs in the GEF. One in the GEF 6 cycle, which went from 2014 to 2018. That was the first program, which was scaled up in GEF 7 by UrbanSept. If you're familiar with, if you're working in this arena, you probably have heard about it, and it's been implemented by UNEP. And then in GEF 8, we came with a third program that actually they're complementing each other, and it's been implemented by the World Bank. So in total, we have supported over 90 cities in 33 countries with more than 400 million in GEF grants. And again, I want to repeat grants because this is not reimbursable money. And we have mobilized over 5 billion in co-financing, including from the private sector. So how the programs over the time they have been structured, they have 2 main components. One is country and city level interventions. Yeah, can you hear me? And the other one is the platform, the coordination platform, where we usually, the implementing agency, UNEP, is coordinating all the projects that are happening on the ground. And there is like a lot of activities on capacity building, sharing lessons learned, and I will mention that a little bit. But this is how we structure our projects. We are working on the ground with the cities, but we also have a global platform where countries are sharing their experiences. So I will be highlighting two main aspects of the Sustainable Cities program. One is the integrated approach to urban planning. The program requires cities to work not only across the different sector and the different ministries or the different divisions within the municipality, but also they need to work finance. They need to bring the Ministry of Finance on board and governance. So it has to be governance not only at the city level, but also there has to be coordination within the national level. And this is one important aspect that we do require all the projects to have. We have this alignment between national initiatives is very important, and I think I will highlight one of our projects that has been really successful in the implementation is a project in Chennai in India, where there was one of the key elements of the project was the restoration of a lake that was within the city, and it has been extremely successful in recovering the lake, among with other many issues of course happening in the city. But that was because there was a lot of coordination with a national program also in restoring ecosystems within cities that brought also financing from a multilateral development bank. So we joined forces here, and it's been really successful in the implementation. And I think I only have 1 minute, so I would like to highlight again the programmatic approach, in addition to the interventions in the city, which are mainly investments, and also working more on the enabling environment and working on the policy level to coordinate all policies related to cities. This programmatic approach is working, as I was saying before, is a platform for all the coordinating the cities, not only the cities of the specific program, but also programs over the time of the JEF, and we are also bringing many other initiatives that are worldwide on cities, and it's a space for lessons learned. They do have workshops every year, so it's a space for peer-to-peer learning, but also to sharing experience within cities, but also at a more all the way up to even the national government. So I think this has been also really successful, and we've been trying to build on what the previous programs were doing. So maybe just to summarize, I think the lessons learned from us in implementing the Sustainable Cities impact program of the JEF is strategic planning and alignment between public financing, but also bringing in the private sector. Project preparation facilities are very important, such as the GAF fund that has been really useful in some of the cities that are participating in the program. Capacity building, we do provide that under the program, but also we do have specific activities like the Urban Seed Financial Academies that was key to empower cities with the knowledge and tool they needed. And finally, yes, as I was mentioning before, in the case of India, I think the lessons learned from our side is like collaboration among various initiatives. So try to collaborate as much, and also create the capacity within the municipalities that they need to look farther beyond the city to work with the government, but also with other initiatives that are happening worldwide. And this is key for everything, but particularly to secure financing for the cities and sustainability in the long term beyond the JEF project. Yeah, and I thought I wasn't too long. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Patricia. Sorry. And I believe that the take that you emphasize in the multiplicity of actions being done by JEF and the different cycles also help us to coordinate the way in which the fact of cooler to be an element so much more relevant right now and be addressed right now from different partners also is emphasized in your talk. Thank you so much, Patricia. And HG, the AIB has developed a range of different instruments among the years to support cities and in other forms of subnational governments, including urban framework loans, the City Climate Finance Gap Fund that ICLE proudly is part of, and the ELINA Technical Assistance Facility. From your perspective, what are the most effective ways to strengthen the bankability of subnational climate projects, particularly in contexts where local governments face capacity constraints or fragmented planning systems? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to this panel. The European Investment Bank is on the financing side, on the lending side of what we're all doing here for cities, mainly inside the EU. 90% of what we do is inside the EU, but also 10% of our activities are globally outside of the EU. And we are the EU Climate Bank, so we, since many years, too close, okay. So since many years we are closer. I thought it was too close, sorry. We have been focusing on climate action, and what we found was that just providing the financing is not enough. Projects need to be bankable and they need to be prepared. And this takes a lot of time, so I'm very grateful to the other speakers for having outlined some of the projects that lead to financing. But since the needs are so large, we decided to also, in addition to our lending activities, to add advisory and blending. So advisory is basically the project preparation, but also supporting our partners in the implementation of the projects, where often there is a lack of capacity. Inside the EU, there is, as you have mentioned, the ELENA facility, which is a facility which was set up more than 15 years ago with the help of the European Commission, providing now more than 300 million euros to prepare and accompany renewable energy and energy efficient projects inside of the EU. A lot of these projects in the new EU member states, where there was also a lack of capacity. The interesting part of this experience is that we have not only been preparing these projects for our own financing, but that financing was also provided by other financiers, either other development finance institutions like the European Bank for Development and Reconstruction, also bilateral promotional banks like KfW from Germany or Agence Française de Développement. So we are kind of neutral. We prepare the projects, and whoever then has the best offer can go ahead and finance the projects. So building on this experience, we realized that indeed the urban sector, as was said, is a multi-sector, so where we can do lots of climate-related action in the water sector, heating, energy, transport, and together, and you mentioned partnerships are key. Together with the World Bank, we decided to set up the Global City Finance Gap Fund to exactly fill this gap of preparedness of bankable projects. So this fund now holds 50 million euros. It's fully committed, and we have received over 1,000 requests, and we are now busy in 127 countries, cities across the globe. We have also partnered with the German GIZ, the Technical Cooperation, and this cooperation is very useful. And we also have, as you mentioned, Central Asia. We have a program called Felicity, which also targets renewable energy efficiency, notably in the eastern neighboring countries and in Central Asia. Now, you ask about what else can be done. So I mentioned international financiers, but of course we also work with local promotional banks who sometimes also don't have the means to prepare the projects. So here in Brazil, we have prepared projects that have been then financed by Bendes Bank. We have similar examples in Ecuador, in Salvador, and sometimes municipalities then do find the money to finance once the project has been prepared. So just to sum up, so I think what is needed is advisory, it's partnerships, strong cooperation, and then the last thing maybe to add is blending. So to make the financing more sustainable, especially for countries that have reached limits for indebtedness. So to add more grants down the line to make sure that then the financing goes through and that also it doesn't become too costly for the beneficiaries that are ultimately those who then should be the beneficiaries of the services provided. Thank you.
Thank you, actually, and I want to stress how the way in which you emphasize the complementarity that you as a bank, as a developing bank, with other organizations, trying to make this blend, this specific blended finance is like a jargon by itself, of course, but how you are able to identify the way to be complementary in different actions, to be complementary in the whole system, to try to understand and to emphasize the way in sometimes it's necessary the procurement, the procedurals that to make the capability of even other banks to support the final stretch, but how we're able to support in that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your words. I'd like to ask for another round of applause as we finish our first panel, and I would like to then invite our panelists to sit down over here. We're going to have an exchange of panelists. Once and again, thank you so much.
I forgot to mention the private sector needs to come in, but okay.
And just to take advantage, we're going to use other layers of partners as the private sector, as city governments, as national governments trying to make the implementation be done and being fulfilled. So I'd like to invite right now Mr. José Luis Esteves da Fonseca, Executive Manager of Institutional Relations and Sustainability of the MRV company here in Brazil. I would like to invite Mr. Kennedy Mateka, Deputy Director of Building Safety and Climate Resilience of Ministry of Lands, Publics and Works and Urban Development of Kenya. And I would like to ask to join us Mr. Renato Ogawa, Mayor of the city of Barcarena, here at the state of Pará, Brazil. We will have, for the Portuguese-speaking panelists, we're going to have translation over here, just to have that. You're going to have the timing for the translation in that sense, okay? So, I'm going to start with Mayor Renato. And our general question here is Barcarena was recently recognized as a UN resilience hub under the MCR 2030 initiative and launched its first GHG inventory with support from the Global Covenant of Mayors and the European Union. What, Mr. Mayor, do you see as the next steps in your cities is taking to translate these milestones into concrete investments? Not thinking specifically in cooling, buildings, and energy. And how can international partnership help scale these efforts across the Amazon region?
Acho que você tem que falar perto, só.
Boa tarde a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Só para que vocês entendam, eu estou prefeito em uma cidade aqui ao lado de Belém, que tem 54 mil habitantes, de uma realidade portuária, uma cidade industrial e, ao mesmo tempo, de famílias tradicionais e ribeirinha.
So, just so you know, I'm currently the mayor of a city that is in the outskirts of Belém do Pará, and we have 54,000 people living there. We have a city that has a industry, but also have traditional people, traditional families living there as well.
O município tem buscado se adaptar à nova realidade climática. Há pouco tempo nós concluímos o nosso inventário de emissão de gases, onde fica bem claro dentro do município que a maioria dos gases emitidos dentro do município, eles vêm da área portuária, eles vêm da área industrial e da área da logística. Então, a gente buscando justiça climática, apesar de todos os esforços feitos pelo município já se adaptar, nós entendemos que nós precisamos envolver as empresas que mais emitem gases dentro do município.
So, not long ago, we have completed our local gas emissions, greenhouse gas emissions inventory, where it was very clear for us that within the municipality, the majority of greenhouse gases were emitted at the port area, and because they depend on the industrial area and the logistical area. Talking about climate justice, despite all our efforts, we already have to adapt, but we're standing to develop the companies that are most relevant to the issue.
A gente tem como uma meta um tanto quanto audaciosa a transformação da nossa mobilidade urbana por um transporte com menos emissões e com mais sustentabilidade. E o nosso passo inicial deve acontecer pelo transporte escolar municipal, logo em seguida também por um transporte público do município, que possa a própria área da logística do município também entender que a transição ela se faz necessária e é preciso que alguém dê o primeiro passo.
So we have somewhat of an ambitious goal for the transformation of our urban mobility. Our initial step in that pathway will be on our municipal school transportation, and after that we are going to go for the public transportation in the municipality, so that the municipality itself, the logistics and the urban mobility can be a necessary way of us on the first steps towards more sustainability and reducing our carbon footprint.
O município vai buscar parceria e entende que quem deveria liderar esse processo é o governo nacional, através do governo federal. Através do governo federal, nós precisamos dessa articulação para que esses investimentos cheguem nos governos locais.
Our partnerships, we understand this is under the federal government responsibility, the national government, but even though they will lead the process, we know that it's by partnershiping with them, by partnering with them, that we can involve and are able to attract investments to change our urban mobility.
A adaptação e a mitigação com as comunidades, eu entendo que o município ele é capaz de realizar, mas projetos como acessibilidade, que envolve mais recursos financeiros, é necessário que o município viabilize financiamento para que a gente possa realmente implementar essas mudanças de matrizes energéticas que possibilitem melhorar a nossa mobilidade urbana.
So in terms of mitigation and adaptation for local communities, the municipality itself is capable of supporting them and helping them adapt and reduce emissions. But when you talk about urban mobility, we need more support and finance, so that we can finance and make it viable for us to actually implement these changes in the energy matrix in our municipality and improve urban mobility.
E a gente conta também com a parceria do ICLEI para que a gente possa elaborar projetos que a gente consiga de uma forma mais célere viabilizar e implementar dentro do município. Queria agradecer a oportunidade de poder participar e poder colocar um pouco do que nós estamos pensando aqui no município de Barcarena para o nosso futuro.
So we are very happy to have the partnership with ICLEI so that we can develop projects as fast as possible and make it viable so we can implement within the municipality. I'd also like to thank for the opportunity to participate in this panel and share our experience in Barcarena.
Thank you, Mayor Renato, and I can completely attest the fact that how city of Barcarena, if you are able to, is just 40 minutes away from Belém Harbor, going to the city. It's a city that is so well positioned in terms of the amount of demands that the city has, but the way that they've been tackled in different elements, especially in terms of education, how to rebuild the city center. ICLEI is a proud partner of the city of Barcarena. Thank you so much for being with us as well this afternoon, Mayor Renato. And I'd like to continue with José Luis, because MRV is the biggest building construction company in Latin America today. And has pioneered sustainable construction processes in Brazil, integrating ESG principles across its operation. What role can private sector actors like MRV play in supporting cities to scale green building and cooling solutions, particularly in terms of co-investments, technology transfer, and aligning with public climate goals?
Bom, boa tarde. Tem uma apresentação.
Pessoal, tem uma apresentação.
Boa. Português. É que tem uma apresentação. Uma apresentação. Não tem passado? Bom, boa tarde.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Tá. Bom, a contribuição nossa com as cidades e a questão de sustentabilidade veio a ideia do Cidade Sete Sóis.
So our contribution to sustainability in cities comes from the Seven Suns City.
Então, esse projeto tem uma parceria importante do ICLEI no conceito de soluções baseadas na natureza. Então, ele nos ajudou muito nesse conceito. Pode passar.
And so this project, in partnership with Clay, was very important, this partnership, because it brings us into the concept of nature-based solutions, so we can apply them to their projects.
E por que ele chamou 7 sóis? São 7 conceitos de viver verde, segurança, desenvolvimento urbano, mobilidade e acessibilidade, comodidades, boa vizinhança e tecnologia.
It's called Seven Suns because we have 7 pillars, and those are the ones that is written there, but green living, safety, urban development, mobility and accessibility, convenience, good neighborhood and technology.
Pode passar. Pode passar. Bom, em cima desses 7 pilares, as cidades verdes, inclusivas e resilientes, ela trouxe aquele conceito de integrar um bairro novo na cidade.
So, under this green development project in green resilient cities, which is supported, which the 7 pillars support our project, because our idea was to integrate in the city new neighborhoods.
E com isso tirar aquela solução de isolamento de condomínios fechados, que você tem condomínios fechados, isolados. E veio várias soluções baseadas na natureza que o ICLEI nos apoiou no sentido de jardins de chuvas, a questão de paisagismo, de árvores nativas.
So, sorry. So this is the way we are building these integrations, because we don't want the constructions, what we are building, to be isolated from the city in silos, in closed communities. We want them to be integrated, and that's how eClay is helping us as well.
E com isso a gente começou a tratar questões de ondas de calor local, né, tratar a questão de conforto térmico e, ao mesmo tempo, trouxe um planejamento urbano sustentável, em que você incluía aquela população. E a gente tem um exemplo hoje sendo construído na cidade de São Paulo, com 11 mil unidades habitacionais. Dessas unidades habitacionais, mais ou menos 10% são habitações de interesse social, e aí integra essa população com outras classes sociais.
So, by doing this, we started by trying to address the issue of extreme heat in wherever we work in. So, looking into thermal comfort and making sure that we have a good solutions for the extreme heat that we are seeing. We have in São Paulo now an example of this. It's a community that has 11,000 units, of which 10% are for social use. So it's not only about it's also to include the most vulnerable people in our solutions.
E quando a gente trouxe essa solução, a gente buscou essa questão ali de otimização de processos construtivos e trouxe menos desperdício, redução do impacto de insumos. Tá picando.
So part of this strategy is to optimize our constructive processes so we have less waste, also to increase energy efficiency and productivity in where we are building.
E aí, consequentemente, melhor eficiência energética, questão da produtividade no canteiro. A gente trouxe uma redução de emissões e custos operacionais, que a gente faz esse mapeamento de pegada de carbono desde 2015.
So, by optimizing our process on site, we were able to reduce our emissions, but also reduce our expenses.
Custos e redução de pegada de carbono também que a gente 2015.
So we've been doing this since 2015.
Sorry. E ao mesmo tempo trouxemos inovação como um diferencial competitivo, que a gente trazia essas soluções, não é inovadora quando se fala em baseadas na natureza, mas trouxe uma solução inovadora em todo o conceito do projeto, né?
So it's not only about innovation in the sense that is a new thing, nature-based solutions, but the way we are using it, the way we are doing it, it's in the concept of what we are doing.
E, consequentemente, acabou trazendo um atrativo de financiamento verde, ou seja, alguns bancos investidores olhavam para financiamentos e valores investidos de fundo verde de investimento.
So this made our work more competitive, and by this, we were able to attract more green investments. So the banks that were seeking investments for our green infrastructure came to us, and that made it easier for us.
Rapidinho aí, a gente teve o reconhecimento e financiamento através do selo Casa Azul, é o banco financiador da Minha Casa Minha Vida. Houve uma avaliação em 5 grandes grupos de qualidade urbana, projeto e conforto, eficiência energética, gestão de água e gestão de resíduos. E melhorou o funding para o Minha Casa Minha Vida também.
So, by getting the Blue Housing certification, we were able to show that, confidently show that we are sustainably building, and we were evaluated in 5 different groups of work. So urban quality, project and comfort, energy efficiency, water management and waste management.
E, consequentemente, a valorização sustentável do empreendimento, que ele teve uma valorização em função disso. Acho que é a última.
This also gave us access as part of the My House, My Life project, and that made it easier for us to get cheaper investment.
E essa parceria com o eClay trouxe umas parcerias institucionais fortes, no sentido de aproximação com o poder público em soluções baseadas na natureza, em soluções sustentáveis para o município e soluções também que os bancos financiadores trouxeram isso como uma visão diferenciada de funding para implementar isso aí.
So this partnership with eClay helped us increase our institutional partnerships, and that made, and including nature-based solutions, so that made us easier for us to get funding, to get more partnerships in developing these products.
E aí houve facilitação em alguns financiamentos verdes que antes tinha uma certa dificuldade da gente implementar nos projetos.
So that facilitated us our access to some of this green funding that was harder before we were in this partnership.
Está acabando, mas aí houve inclusão social, inovação construtiva para promover transições climáticas mais justas.
And with that, we had more social inclusiveness, constructive innovation to promote a just climate transition.
Ok, obrigado, gente.
Thank you, everyone.
Eu acho que eu corri demais, porque eu estava com o tempo.
Thank you, José Luis. And I believe that we have this specific element of course, cooling and building, and here we are in the place inside the blue zone to have this conversation. It's so fundamental to have the private sector as well as the public sector being part of this conversation. We know that everything that's going to be related to make anything in terms of cooling into building process was going to have to get a market correspondent that we need to understand, to see the viability, to see the best pilots that have been done around the world, and to try to see the way in which the scalability can be done. But thank you so much, Luis, and I'd like to thank you, Vitor Pinheiro, that was our translator here, working at UNEP Brazil, supporting this activity. Thank you so much, Vitor. And I'd like to finish, Mr. Kennedy Mateka. Kenya has made significant strides in integrating climate resilient into its building codes and urban planning frameworks. From your perspective, what are the key regulatory or planning innovations that have helped Kenya align its building sector and climate finance opportunity? And how can these be scaled to support local governments in implementing resilient infrastructure?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Kenya has a new building code, being a process that has taken close to 50 years before we updated the code. And part of the reason why it took 50 years is the bureaucratic process that goes around the construction sector, value chain processes, the typical bureaucracies that governments have. But then by the end of the day, we are proud to indicate that last year, we did launch a new building code. This time around, we are quite conscious on several components. And one of the very key components in the new building code is how to enhance climate resilience moving forward. And therefore, there are several provisions that are covered in the new building code that are keen to strengthen resilience of our infrastructure moving forward. And our new building code is open-ended in a way to encourage innovation, to encourage newer areas. That it's a model code that is open in a manner that we don't anticipate to take long in the first place to amend it. So the code has also given provisions for several opportunities of ways of enhancing resilience in it. And one of the key components is how then do you make use of local materials and local technologies at a local level so that you can achieve the intent and purpose of resilience. And this is where our subnationals are very much involved, because there's a linkage between local materials and local communities and local skills vis-a-vis the local, the subnationals. And therefore, we have really taken it up to strengthen our new building code to really cover a lot of grounds in terms of enhancing resilience of our buildings. But as we carry out that, we also took note of the nationally determined contributions role in terms of how then does it feed to the new governance structure that we have as a country. Our NDC, whether it is the updated one for the period 2020 to 2030 and the new one that we just released spanning the year 2031 to 2035, the role of the subnationals in this case is well included. We have also gone further to include other components like social inclusions, people with disability, youth, gender, and quite a number of other spectrums. And therefore, for us in terms of infrastructure development, we have ensured that our NDC submissions, including what we call technical adaptation report, that accompanies the NDC document itself, has fully integrated issues around resilience into the main report. We are doing this because we are very much cognizant of the role of the subnationals, in this conversation. Subnationals are the drivers of change across board. Whether these subnationals come in form of cities, whether they come in form of towns, these are the drivers of change in every country. And therefore, when we are developing national policies, apart from engaging the counties or the subnationals in the development process, then there is need for us to see that the international commitments, the international laws, international conversations that we are having, then we onboard the counties into this process. And therefore, when we are developing such kind of enabling frameworks like the building code, like the NDCs, like the national cooling plan that we have, the focus is at the subnational level. And therefore, this is an urge, and we always encourage that for the national governments represented here, when we are now developing guidelines, when you are developing rules, when you are developing policies, it is important to rope in and engage counties or the subnationals at the at the initial stages of that policy development. It's a very key strategy that has worked for us in terms of ensuring that the counties, whom are the champions of fighting disasters when they arise, then are aware of the very policies that governs, and they are fully made aware of how then they should tackle issues of disaster when they arise into their component. Within the national cooling plan, there was a special target on the special areas that experience extreme heat and extreme coldness. And we have made a deliberate effort to ensure that the towns and cities and the subnationals that are within the coastal region, because it is a trade world over, that the coastal region bears a different climatic condition in relation to most of other areas, whether it is in the tropics or other areas. So the counties that are near the coastal regions, or rather the subnationals that are near the coastal regions, and the ones that are near the lake regions, then are given more preference because of the extreme heats that goes into this conversation. Aware that Kenya also has a diversity in terms of the weather patterns, then the arid and the semi-arid areas in our country have also been roped in to be part of special areas for purposes of heating and cooling. And this is what our national cooling plan anticipates. This is what the national cooling plan has put in place. And therefore, we're also calling upon different stakeholders in this room and beyond to come forward and see opportunities within the national cooling plan that is existing. And that creates not just an opportunity of development, but the socio-economic benefits that arises with some of these developments. And by the way, most of these policies that national governments develop, there is business opportunity to each of the national policies that any government develop. And therefore, we urge the private sector to come forward to see the business opportunity in the different policies that different countries do make. And therefore, that is a correlationship between policies and the subject matter, and cooling being a new area not just in Kenya, but in most of the places that we are in, we always encourage that those of us who are championing cooling should also champion not just at a national level, but then how do we see NDCs picking up cooling, moving forward, so that we could one day have this kind of a conversation at those higher levels. In the process of us developing infrastructure, we have very keen interest of something called the PPP, the Public-Private Partnership. The framework around PPP arrangement in Kenya requires that you are not just developing infrastructure, but ensure that you develop resilient infrastructure based on the locality that that project beneficiary lies. And therefore, it is important for us as we move forward, and I understand that PPP framework is not just for Kenya, it's a global framework that works around the countries. And therefore, we urge and encourage that PPP frameworks are good policy frameworks that different countries can also use to enhance different resilient infrastructure components, including cooling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, and thank you for representing such a comprehensive landscape in terms of not only the plannings that are being implemented directly by the government, but how the structure that you are showcasing for Kenya has been this bridge of local, national, and this combination of connecting with private sector. I believe it's an inspiring element to showcase. I'd like to ask Mr. Mohamed Sefiani, our mayor of Chefchaouen in Morocco, to join us here, please. And you just arrived in the right timing for the last speaking slot of this panel. Thank you so much for being able to join with us, Mayor Sefiani. Your city has not been just a regional leader, but a global leader in local climate finance with initiatives, especially in energy efficient street lining, food waste management support by the City Climate Finance Gap Fund. As a city leader, what practical steps have you taken to improve the situation, as especially considering financial readiness and credibility with climate finance institutions? And especially thinking about your specific role, you're as the mayor, but someone that is also a leader in so many different organizations, and your role to take this to different settings. How has it been for you specifically to talk about this segment worldwide? Thank you so much.
Muchísimas gracias, Rodrigo. Sorry for arriving late here because I had another session. I am Mohamed Sefiani, mayor of Chefchaouen. Chefchaouen is an intermediate city from the north of Morocco. All the city is painted in blue, but we are in our city committed to green and to sustainability. In finance, I think that it's very important to talk about finance, especially for cities and especially for small and intermediate cities, because the case of my city, Chefchaouen, we have local political commitment. We had elaborated our climate plan, our vision 2030, and in implementation, we are implementing our climate plan. But we can say that access to finance for cities now is easy. It's the reality that we are talking in the networks as ICLE, as GCOM, as UCLG. And I think that less than 10% of climate finance goes to cities. And when we talk about resilience and mitigation, less than 20% of climate finance goes to resilience. And we, especially in the global south, we need financial support to implement our programs, our projects, especially in resilience. So some examples that we have down in our city. The Gap Fund supported us in one project of waste management. And very important to have this support from international organizations, GAFound, you know. And with European Union, Afri-Food Links, with the support of ICLE Africa, we are implementing one project of sustainable food. And I can say our city, Chefchaouen, is recognized by UNESCO as intangible heritage for humanity, Mediterranean diet. This sustainable alimentation, sustainable food, and with the UN UNCDF Capital Development Fund, we had the support of one innovative project without the guarantee of the national government for public lighting network, and we are in Chefchaouen, the first city in Morocco that we have public lighting network, 100% LED technology and smart, with the innovative finance for UNCDF and national government. This is some example, but now with the national government we have MOE with the GCOM to have to implement CHAMP initiative and multi-level action. And with ICLE, we have as a member of National Association of Mayors of Morocco, with ICLE, to implement with our association multi-level action and multi-level governance. I think that I will conclude by that. And we are working in ICLE. I am vice president of ICLE World, and member of executive bureau of GCOM, and member of the presidency of USLG World. I think that one of the conclusions, one of the lessons that we had, I think this COP must be the COP of cities, must be the COP of local implementation, and must be the COP of the dialogue between national government and local government. Because I think it's the momentum, COP30, with the new indices, with this ambition, with the role of the presidency of Brazil, with the work done by LGMA during the last years, I think that to assist and to support cities and local government to implement our climate action plan at local level, I think is necessary to implement the climate agenda. Without cities, we can't implement it. Is the key message that we have, and the just transition, climate just transition, I think is the opportunity. And here in the Brazil, in Belém, that in the end of the COP, to have a clear vision and clear decisions to have this local climate, just transition climate. I think together, local government, regional government, national governments, and networks of cities as ICLE, and we work in LGMA, that we can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Stefani, and I believe that especially the sort of combination that you have in your city, the kind of, especially the fantastic work in terms of not only waste management, the city access is a fantastic example of how you can make a combination of different elements of climate planning and the way that could be translated into city directly action. We're gonna, considering our time, our constraints, we're gonna make a final round, and then I'm gonna ask for these gentlemen over here to speak, and then leave the floor for our colleagues could rejoin and to make a final 2-minute speech. And that pitch would be, in a sense, in those 2 last minutes, to try to say, what do you think is the element for implementation of a cooler system that could be done and directly towards cities? If you could have one recommendation, what you would do in terms of process of policy that's going to be paramount in that sense. I'm going to ask for a fire round over here, ask my colleagues to come over here and invite my colleagues to make the final round. Is that okay? Is that okay? Great. So let's do it. Sufiani, I'm gonna give you the first as you get the last.
Is honor for me. I think two things. First one, participatory approach with civil societies, with private sector, with national government, all around to implement our cooling and climate action plan in general. ID number two, multi-level action is very, very important, and dialogue between national government and local government. We are doing it in Morocco, we are doing it in many countries in the world, but we must have the generation of this process in all, in all the countries. And I think the last ID, and 2 minutes is there. I think this COP must be the COP of cities, the COP of multi-level action. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kennedy.
If there is one public policy document that can transform the construction sector, it's the building code. The building code is what binds the professionals on one end, the investors on the other end, the developers on this other end, and therefore my urge is let us be keen to look into the building codes from different jurisdictions and ensure that we match the current building codes with what is happening at COP, what is happening at regional level, and that is the kind of transformation, even in this pavilion, that we need to push for. Ensuring our building code speaks to what we are pushing for worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. José Luis, I may do the translation this time.
Bom, eu acho que o importante é o que a gente buscando essa parceria pública-privada e institucional que o ICLEI conseguiu trazer com a MRV.
I believe that this is super relevant to the kind of partnership between the public and the private, one specific that we've been working together with ICLEI.
E quando essas partes se unem, a gente chega num único resultado. Nós entregamos um endereço, a gente entrega uma questão de moradia digna e social. Isso não é só para o Brasil, isso é para o mundo inteiro. Quando você entrega uma residência digna, você resolve metade do problema de meio ambiente que a cidade causa nos rios, nos esgotos mal tratados, nas ocupações irregulares. E isso hoje traz esse endereço, esse caso de habitação que a gente chama aqui no Brasil de interesse social, é realmente entregar uma moradia digna. E quando você tem um financiamento viável para isso, a coisa toda anda muito fácil.
So he emphasized that to make this combination of public and private is a way in which you can, in that specific, in the building sense, to give to a person an address, to give the dignity of have access to your own house. And when you combine this in a sustainable way, you were supporting in the most fundamental way the people's need.
Obrigado.
Thank you.
Eu acredito também que não tem como buscar resolver esses problemas sem falar com a comunidade. A sociedade civil ela tem que ser ouvida, nós temos que começar a partir do sentimento dessas pessoas. Ninguém muda uma realidade se não conversar com esses atores. É importante que a mudança de comportamento e a mudança de cultura ela deve ser tratada com quem realmente está na terra, quem vive nas cidades. A estratégia para fazer essas mudanças aí é necessário que se use os 3 níveis de governo, o federal, o estadual e o local.
So it's fundamental he wants to emphasize how the participatory approach is the key element to have not only a project done, but a project being done, listen to the people that are also on the ground, feeling the needs that must be addressed. this kind of approach to understand the quality of the local culture, of the needs of the people, is going to be paramount for any kind of enterprise. And of course, all this related with the integration of national, regional, and local, but listen to people directly affected by the matter.
Obrigado.
Thank you, gentlemen. I would like to invite our colleagues to come back here. I'm going to invite you to approach here. May I start with you?
So I'm not sure it's working. Yeah?
Hello, hello, hello.
Can you hear me? No. Okay, yeah, no, so not working. Yeah, no.
Over here. Over here. No, it's.
Like this?
Like
Yeah,
this.
okay.
Like-
So from my perspective, I would like to say we need people with a vision, like the panelists from the previous panel, and we need financiers who stay with these people from the very start until the very end, who provide the financing that is needed, but above all, you need these people who have this drive, which really makes it happen. So this was very inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay, first of all, I really appreciated what the panel said, and congratulations for the many activities that you are carrying out. I will be very brief. In a of scarcity of financing for any actions, be it at the local or the national level, we need to identify sustainable solutions, viable solutions, and sound solutions that deliver with one action many co-benefits. So my suggestion is to consider nature-based solutions because they provide either mitigation and adaptation. So I've heard mentioning nature-based solutions by several local actors, and I'm very happy. So please join us tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. At the Italian Pavilion, because we will launch this new initiative that in 2026 will finance pilot projects on nature-based solutions. Thank you.
Well, from the global environmental facilities side, I will say I will highlight three things. Integration, you already mentioned that, integration across sectors, integration with the national government, but also the local government. City ownership is very important. Every time we provide financing to one city, we really feel that when there is ownership, there is a way to implement the project. So I think city ownership is very important. And finally, coordination. Again, most of the financing is going to come from the local. It's going to be local financing, but it's very important to reach out to international financing because that can help leverage the resources that are being implemented at the local level. So coordination, integration, coordination with other initiatives, and city ownership. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank, first of all, the 2 minutes were on target. Thank you so much. You're so well focused. I would like to make my final pitch. That's what the organization had asked me to try, in a sense, to give a final remarks in terms of this specific dual panel that we had this afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank you so much for all the insightful experience, perspectives, objectives that you all have shared with us this afternoon. I believe that when we talk about the way in this neighborhood is a little bit of this concept. We are joined 4 pavilions together. If you didn't know that, we are connected by this road over there, trying to demonstrate that cities and regional governments have so many different layers of needs and capabilities. They cannot be met if we do not see this diversity of elements. When we're talking about specifically here, about how we're going to build our future in a reality of necessary adaptation, in which we need to assess mitigation in the same sense, you had shared with us some not only gold initiatives that you have been championing, but also perspectives of how to make this, and I want to emphasize those two words, to make this co-responsibility of the different layers of government, of the different layers of investments, and how we're going to approach this investment from now on, how this co-responsibility must be shared in a strategic governance scheme that could facilitate in the investment, but must not. And I want to emphasize the words of the two mayors that were here that emphasize that we need to listen to the people. We need to have a participatory process as a key element of our approach. We, of course, must use the best the best technical approach, financially sound aspects, but we need to have the capability to listen to the people, to listen to the needs of whom was going to be the most affected by the projects that we need to move ahead. And in that sense, this sense of co-responsibility, it's also a way in which we have this element of an understanding of our governance being done always connected to the local administration. We need to emphasize, and of course, when we see the layers of banks, of funds, of the national government, we can have the approach that the local government is the one that generally, usually, is the one that will have the last access to technical capacities. We're going to need more support. But this support, the way in which we're going to be able to support local authorities, we're going to be the way in which you're going to be able to see a difference in implementation, a difference in our capacity to arrange our goal, to have not only buildings that are cooler and more treat people in a more human way, especially considering the not that good decades that we're going to have in our lifetimes and our next lifetime, you can be sure that we're going to be affected to the needs of the ones that most are impacted, that are not here inside this building, that are the ones that are that we're going to be harmed by climate change the most, and the ones that we're going to have to support and engage in the future. Once and again, I thank you so much for the time that you have shared with us, not only the panelists, but everybody in the audience. I would like to ask that now we can have a panel of the two genders be well represented, because we have like a woman one and the male one. I'd like to invite everybody to take a final picture, and I'd like to ask you for a round of applause. Thank you. There.